Welcome to the, I guess it's aptly named, but also vaguely named session called War Stories. Um, so uh, I envisioned this particular session and wanted it to kind of be the last one that we did because to me, this one is really about just trying to reflect on big picture the last 8 months of our professional lives. Um, and as one of my colleagues put it, and the hell that it has wrought. But I guess I don't necessarily think of it that way. Um, I kind of view, and these last 8 days of these sessions and the real energy that people have brought, being able to see people I haven't seen all year in person, hear and talk about issues that we all care about. It's really been a, a reflective moment for me in thinking about a few things. Primarily, that even in times of turmoil and stress, that I'll be damned, we're all pretty darn creative, and there even still are some things that we can take to heart and be proud of in what we've done, and so I kind of viewed this session that way, and so I wanted to figure out a way for us to just kind of reflect on our experiences together. One thing I'm going to ask, and yes, the Fountainhead people are hiding, even though they have FHP on there, is unless you're in a situation where we really shouldn't see you, if you could all please turn your cameras on. It's one of the things I kind of get with Zoom is when cameras aren't on, it makes me feel weird. It's like running a faculty meeting when everybody's looking out the window when you're trying to talk about stuff. So I'm going to ask Rob, Mark, Matt. I'll give Susan a pass because she's been on every session and made this stuff run. Phil, come on, you can do it.
I have been on everyone too, Joe. So do I get a pass?
Yeah, well, Tim, you don't count as much as Susan does.
Tell me something I don't.
Rob, you can turn yours back off. But seriously, folks, I really do. I think that for as much as we struggle and as much as we've been faced with a whole lot of turmoil in the last 8 months, that whether you're in the academy and you're running a basic course or you're teaching a class in a particular discipline, or as some of our friends on this call, you're reps and book developers, as stressful as it's been, there's got to be some things too that we've got to be really happy on and that we've got to be proud of in the last 8 months. And so what I really want to do for this session is just go, at least start this way, is give everybody an opportunity. I want you to share two things. I want you to share one thing that is a win. It's a victory. It's a thing and something that's happened in the last 8 months that you're really proud of, you're really happy with, that you didn't expect to have happened and be really good, that's really positive. And I want you to tell me what one of your biggest challenges has been in the last 8 months. What's been the hill that's been so hard to win? What's been the fight that you wake up every morning or every other morning and you just continually have to kind of work at? And I want to hear what everybody's experiences are, because to me that's one of the best ways that we all can just appreciate where we are and where we've got to go, and the fact that the best way to get there is together. So I'll start, and then I'm just going to go in the order of my Brady Bunch screen. But the thing I'm most proud of, I could cop out and say the fact that the last 8 days have been fantastic on with these sessions. But to me, that's really an obvious and recent one. Really, the thing I'm most proud of is on my campus this summer, we furloughed 500 people this summer. And this is simultaneously the most challenging and the thing I'm most proud of. So I had to have 3 difficult calls with 3 people who I care very deeply about in my office, letting them know they were furloughed for the summer. I had no hand in the decision. I got an email. I knew decisions were coming, but I got an email one morning from my dean saying, it was a Friday morning, saying you need to do this. You have to do it on Monday, and you can't say anything about it till Monday. So for 2 days, I had to hang on to this information and not say a word. And then Monday morning, I had to set up individual Zoom calls with all 3 people. Actually, I had to set them up with all 5 of my staff, even the 2 who weren't furloughed. And I had to talk to each one of them. That was so terribly difficult for me to do. Not gonna lie, I don't cry very often, but I did that morning repeatedly. And then I sat down with a friend of mine named Captain Morgan in the afternoon and did my best to get over it. But that was awful. But it also turned into the thing I'm most proud of in the last 8 months. Because in July, when things started to really turn around, because a lot of people who were still on staff and still on faculty worked their tails off, every single one of those roughly 500 people we furloughed were brought back. And I was really proud of that. And I was really proud that the people who came back and said, well, we're not doing that again. So tell us what we need to do and we're going to get it done. And damn that we did. So I'm really proud of my people for bouncing back. And, I'm really proud of my department for coming together and that we made it through the fall and haven't had to relive that experience. And so to me, that was the big win. It was also the hardest thing I had to do in the last 8 months. And so that's what I got. And, first up, sorry to report, is Jane. So Jane, you're up first.
Hey, everybody. It's been so great to see everyone. It's been definitely one of the highlights of this semester for me. And so thank you again to Joe and to Susan and Tim and everyone at Fountainhead, because I think this has been a nice way to end, even though we don't all have a lot of free time right now, it was still a nice way to kind of cap it all up, to know everybody's still out there and doing the best they can do. So thank you. For me, I'm going to relate mine to teaching. I taught one asynchronous online course, and I was really nervous about it. And it was unbelievable. Some of the best students I've ever had in my entire career. And we did some live speeches the other day. I had students in China, Vietnam, Bahrain, in the US as well. And they knocked it out of the park. Unbelievable. My challenge was my hybrid classes, the on-campus students. I thought that would be easy. Though I thought it would be easy, I spent a ton of time over the summer getting the course ready. And for everybody, we ran 36 sections this semester. I taught 2 of those. And it was just hard. It was hard. And I don't really even know why. I haven't wanted to cry in 2 weeks, though. So that's, got a little better there towards the end. But I need to reflect on why over the next, whatever it is, 6 weeks, so I can hope that it's less psychically awful next semester.
You're on mute there, Joe.
Tara.
I said, I think probably for me, the biggest challenges have been adapting. I'm gonna, repeat what you just said, that doing this hybrid environment, I thought it would be easy. It has kicked my behind, and being on quarters, we're starting the whole process over again. Second time is going better, and just making sure that you're meeting the needs of your students in all these environments has been a challenge. Probably what I am happiest about is that it has really made a lot of people, like all throughout our system, talk about connecting with our students, because they know, if you're looking at it from an administrative point, if we do not connect with them, they're not going to stay. And so those discussions are happening more and more. And the importance of connecting with students and helping students connect with one another, having those discussions, I think has been one of the really valuable outcomes of all of this.
Susie?
All right, I took some notes. Okay, so my 2 wins, Joe, I'm going to have to start out with a couple wins. I think the first one is just what the students are doing. They are under a tremendous amount of pressure. They're balancing so many things, and they've done just amazing things in class. They have gained confidence, and they have faced, their anxiety, and they have told great stories, and they have done that in other classes and taken those skills with them, and that is just awesome. I also think this is a great time, and Joe, you and I have had these discussions before, but to look at online teaching, not as just taking a face-to-face class and throwing it online, but actually as a different pedagogy and a different way to do things, and how we can do that for the basic course. So beginning to have those conversations more, and I think an appreciation for what it means to approach online education. So those are my wins. My challenge, I guess kind of like Groundhog Day, but I put it more like I'm just a hamster in the wheel. It's like every day I get in and I run and I run and I run. And then the next day I get in and I run and I run and I run. Because everything that I'm able to do on Monday, somehow that list gets big for Tuesday. And then that list is big on Wednesday. And I'm just really hoping there's a little bit of an end in sight that I can just relax on. And I'm sure I'm not alone in that.
Dawn.
Your Brady Bunch screen is different than mine. But that's good. I have to hop at 4:30, so I'm glad I get to go. Hi, everybody. Thanks, Fountainhead folks. I appreciate all of your efforts in this. It's been an amazing experience, the sessions that I could get to. And Joe, thank you. So my wins, I mean, lots of wins with students, but I'm going to be selfish and talk about a couple of things for myself. I feel like I have been able to put myself in a position of value to my colleagues on campus and also my colleagues in the basic course space over the pandemic, because I've been able to support folks because of my experiences with online work prior to the pandemic. And also, I learned something from Susie in the session that we did from NCA. I learned that I belong here and that I have value and that it's good and that I have a lot to share. And I'm all emotional. I don't know why. I think I've been here since 7:30 this morning. But I think that knowing that and being validated by folks is a really nice thing. So I feel really, really good about that. The thing that's the challenge for me, besides not having the personal connection and seeing you guys actually in person, the thing that's the challenge is that balance between wanting to be supportive of my students when they say that the washer repairman has to be here at 10 a.m., which is when the speech day is today, and trying to give that grace. Because I know damn well that if it wasn't the pandemic, I wouldn't be giving the grace, but I'm trying to find that. And that's a bit of a challenge, and it's been really hard with some of these situations, but I'm trying, and having the support of all you folks has been really wonderful. So I thank you.
Michelle.
Personal win was just getting through the semester. I think I spent the first 5 months of the pandemic at my parents' house in Florida. And so I had a unique opportunity to see what it was like to be a student back living at your parents' house again, where you don't have control over everything. So I think that helped me tremendously in terms of dealing with them, but also kind of a grasp on just what is going on in the world around us. Professional win was one that I didn't anticipate. Now that the semester is over and they're just turning in some final assignments, I've had students email me about things that they got out of the class that in any other semester I would have intentionally worked very hard to make sure that they got. And this time it was just like a nice bonus that they actually got those things out of the class. Thank you for teaching me things that I know I should have been taught a long time ago. And as a junior or senior on campus, I should have been doing for the last 3 or 4 years. So that was a really big professional win. And I think that the biggest challenge piece of this was the changing nature of student dissent. So this notion that it's okay to go over the instructor's head and get on a Zoom call after I collect all of these people on a group me so that we can complain together, because that will make it stronger and more powerful. If we go to the department head, or if we go to the provost, or we go to the dean, And that was a level of dissent that I had never seen before. It was a set of strategies that I had never seen before.
Kelly.
Hi. So thank you to all the Fountainhead people, because I've found a lot of these sessions to be terrific. So I appreciate very much the opportunity to do this. As for the challenges and the successes, boy, we made it through the semester, and I view that as a personal success because, I had 16 graduate student instructors who had never taught online before, and just getting them to understand that, no, you just don't turn your camera on and expect to be just like you were in your classroom was really, it was a challenge to do that. And I feel gratified that we actually made it, and without, knock on wood, any major blowups at this point. So I think that's actually a success. It was a lot of work. And I guess that's the challenge that I feel, is that, like Susie, I feel like all I do is run and go from Zoom to Zoom to Zoom, and there's no end in sight. And I'm facing the prospect of doing this another semester, and I'm wondering where I'm going to get the reserves to do that. So I think that's it, like just the worn outness is much more significant this semester than it has ever been in the past.
Brad.
Hi there. So I'm going to, 2 wins and then the struggle. One win was we actually pulled off our speech competition this semester via Zoom. We have all our Com 101s nominate the best speech, and then they all come together and we have a competition, and the winner, there's judges, the winner gets a gift card and whatnot. And we were able to pull it off on Zoom with 90 some odd % participation from all our sections. And we have 18 sections of Com 101 this semester. So that was just a huge win to be able to do that for our students. The other thing was, despite all this craziness, typical things have to go on, such as assessment. And as department chair, I was quite nervous about trying to do anything real because this is a weird time, and I wouldn't trust any traditional data from these semesters. So I work with my department, and we're creating, that stupid curriculum map where you put X's in it and whatnot. I find that very unhelpful. We are actually creating an assignment curricular map where we're finding the assignments in all our courses, and we're attaching them to the NCEA learning outcomes. So we'll be able to have at the end of this year, and we're just doing it slowly, not going crazy, but at the end of this year, we should have a nice little book of assignments that are attached to learning outcomes that we're going to share with our students, so they will know what they could expect to learn when they come to us as majors in comm. So that was just a huge win that my department and we all came up with it, and it's just working, and we'll be able to make our dean happy that we did some assessment and all that stuff, but we think it's a valid thing, so very happy. And then I hate to switch to a Debbie Downer, but the biggest challenge for me is there's not a week that goes by where a student doesn't call me and say somebody has died. And it's just, I unlike Joe, I cried at McDonald's commercials. So I've been doing a lot of crying with all of this stuff. And that's just been really tough, but I'm trying to focus on the wins rather than that. But that's just been amazingly tough to deal with.
Tim.
Hey, everybody. Good to see y'all. I guess the biggest win for us through this whole thing was we've always been a traditional print publisher. And while we did have some just standard ebooks, we forged a partnership with Top Hat about 18 months ago. That was huge as this thing hit, to be able to pivot and move people into an active learning platform that not only kind of got us by, but I think made things better. Like, we've grown, and we've been able to enhance our books and enhance the experience for students. So for me, that was the biggest thing, was having this digital platform to offer. And you guys are important to us, and we have close, really tight relationships with you all. And so to be able to not leave you hanging was huge. So on the downside, the big loss for me personally, my assortment of belts have taken a beating. They're getting stretched to the limit. So I think I can do something about that. That's in my span of control. So that's number one. We have really struggled with, while it was great to be able to pivot and help out and move people into the platform, that's been great. We've got some great authors and great books. A lot of you all use our books. And so it's been really hard to not get out and promote those. We're proud of our content. So for us we're outside salespeople, to be stuck in our homes, trying to connect by Zoom meetings and email, it's been really hard because we take pride in our relationships and listening to you all. So that's been tough. And then we don't want to be pests. But that said, we want to reach out and see how we can help and pitch our wares. So that's been the biggest thing. So I wouldn't mind hearing how you want at some point in this call, how you want publishers to reach out and how we can approach you all without being annoying, because I know what you're all up against. So thanks again for everybody joining.
Nicole.
Hello, I'm going to start with some of the challenges that I've faced. I'll echo what Brad said and a few others. The loss here, opening up emails or receiving text messages from students saying, I've got to attend this funeral, or my uncle just passed away. It's been difficult to help them through that challenge, but I'm surprised at the emotional toll it's taking on me. But there have been so many other good things. And Joe, I thank you for giving me the opportunity to think about them. The work that the students have been doing in my courses has been tremendous. They are willing to try, they are willing to go above and beyond, even though they're, going through all of the same challenges that I'm going through. I'm astounded by their willingness to do something new, to try something that they've never tried before. So I'm looking at all of those as wins.
Mark.
Well, Joe, you may get redundant answers from the Fountainhead people, but I'm just proud of the fact that we were able to take long-term existing customers or long-time existing customers and, help them navigate a really difficult situation. And pretty much in every case, they were thanking us for being able to help them out. And then the challenge, I actually had written down Groundhog Day as well, that Susie mentioned. It every day does kind of feel like Groundhog Day. And, it's a challenge not seeing family and friends, and just trying to figure out how to navigate and best do our job. Like Tim mentioned, it's a challenge. So, hopefully in January, we'll have new strategies and we'll know how to get in touch with people in a proper way.
Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. Well, you've definitely done a great job expressing our experiences. The highlights and high points have been the creativeness of the grads. So we have about 18 grad instructors, and they just kind of rolled with it from the time we moved mid-semester online, and they've had amazing ideas about engaging their students and have been very clever. Dawn, I feel your concerns as far as student absences and how much you forgive. That definitely has been a challenge of ours, especially now as I get to the end of the semester and my grads are contacting me saying, okay, I've got someone with 14 absences and COVID's not involved with that directly. So just trying to kind of work on those pieces is probably one of the bigger challenges. And I think probably one of the really fun things I'm excited to be able to say is we survived hurricane season down here in Florida. And so we were concerned about the hit, and we definitely had a canceled day was something coming our way, but it didn't end up being a big deal. It was easy to adapt to. So fortunately, we didn't get quite as plowed as perhaps some others might have.
Rob.
Thanks, Joe. I was hoping you wouldn't forget me because you remember I do still have pictures of you with ponies. So don't ever forget that.
That is a downright awkward phrasing, Rob.
I'm going to take this just from a little bit different perspective as a father of a freshman. And so starting out with the not so pleasant side, which was having to write that check for a semester that I knew was probably going to be strictly online. And the fact that, you know, when you're investing in your child's education, you know, you just don't know how that outcome is going to be. But I can tell you that since she's been home the last couple of weeks and telling me about, you know, how excited this semester was for her and how she connected with her instructors, regardless of whether it was hybrid or online, asynchronous, synchronous, you know, all these terms we throw out there. The bottom line is I feel like she got a very good education, which reflects back to all you guys who, you know, invest your heart and soul into these kids no matter what. And so that was my high point after the shock of, you know, writing the check and not knowing, you know, just what kind of education she was going to be getting. But, you know, happy to say that and the results were good. So, you know, thanks to all you guys.
Phil.
Well, like I do have to echo my Fountainhead Press colleagues. The biggest challenge was just not being out on campus and talking to all my amazing professors and having amazing conversations and just learning so much and talking about our wonderful authors and their books. That was really, really hard. You know, I'm one of those crazy people who actually enjoy driving and walking around college campuses. So those things have been taken away for sure. So that was a big challenge. That, in addition to keeping it to 2 drinks a night, no kidding. Wins is that, you know, all the reaching out and I thought the good ties and relationships that I had with my professors were indeed actually there. And I did get some emails answered and that was awesome. And I did have some conversations and yeah, I did get to do some demos. And so they trusted me and they believed that we were really genuinely just trying to help. And those that did come on board and worked with us with COPAD and us and this fall, we're grateful and we learned together and we made mistakes together and then we figured things out. So that was just a tremendous feeling to really be there for our professors and to help their students.
Matt.
Yeah, I think to echo what my colleagues have said, you know, the mantra, Tim's mantra, the Fountainhead Press mantra has long been, how can we help people? And it's difficult to help folks when you can't have conversations with them. But one thing that I have taken from this is that when you are able to, you know, find someone who's like, hey, I would like to see that book, or I do need to come up with some new ancillary materials and have them available via this Top Hat platform, that when you are able to finally jump on a Zoom call with someone like that and have a great conversation, and they're like, yeah, this is something that really could help me and my students. It's extremely, extremely gratifying. In a way, sometimes that it wasn't when you're, you know, walking around on campus multiple times a week. I mean, I think that anytime, you know, something becomes not more rare, but not as commonplace, right? You know, you celebrate those small victories and being able to help someone a lot more. And I'm sure you guys must feel those ways, you know, with your students as well. You know, when you're having office hours or conferences and you have wave after wave of students, sometimes you're like, you start to, like we all do, you're like, I'm doing this job and they just keep coming. But there's something gratifying about helping someone during these difficult times.
And Sherry.
Hi, everybody. I think I'm going to start with my challenges, but before I do that, I want to echo everyone's thanks and appreciation to both Fountainhead Press and to Joe for putting this together. It really has been a welcome distraction from the semester. And really, I feel like just getting to see people and the socialization of this has been very nice. I'll start with challenges. And I think our biggest challenge was teacher training and socialization, of course, right? So we found out that we were where we thought all of the first year students were going to come back on campus, and ours was going to be one of the only courses that was going to be face-to-face or mask-to-mask. We found out the day before training that everything was moving online. So we had to offer training where we thought that they were going to be teaching face-to-face, and someday they may. And so we had to prepare them as if they were going to be teaching face-to-face, but telling them that they were all going to be teaching online. So that was a challenge. And then just the socialization aspect of it, not being able to gather with the graduate teaching assistants and socialize with them and them socialize with one another. They've done a really good job of connecting with one another via Zoom. We were able to have our training face-to-face, and so we were able to make some connections there. But I just miss them. I miss them terribly. And so training and socialization, I think, were our biggest challenges. But I'm also very impressed with their adaptability and flexibility to move from being taught to teach face-to-face to an online environment. And they were, I echo some of the other people's comments, in that they were so creative and so just intuitive, and they know about these things much more than I do. Another success that I think I had was I taught online for the very first time in my entire life. I'd never taken a course online. I'd never taught a course online, and in a matter of days was able to pull that off. And I'm very surprised. I taught synchronously, but I was very surprised at how the pedagogy translated very well from a face-to-face environment to a synchronous online environment. And I'm just thoroughly impressed by that. And so I think those were our greatest successes: adaptability, flexibility, and translatability of pedagogy to an online environment.
Thank you, everybody, for a few minutes of just sharing your experiences. And I think that a couple of things strike me, and I'm just going to kind of pause for a minute and try to tease out a few points, and then open it up again for kind of a free discussion. So the first is, a couple of you mentioned the concept of grace, which has kind of, I think, become the word of 2020. At least I sure as hell hope it's chosen over COVID, because I would love to forget that one. But grace, I work at a private Catholic school, so we use the word grace a lot, but it takes a pretty unique meaning when you start to listen to everybody use it. And I think what's interesting is the way we talk about it is we're giving grace to students, we're giving grace to, in some cases, colleagues, because they're having tough times. And I think the thing that strikes me is we don't give grace. We're not giving grace to people because of the pandemic. We think we are, but that's not really why we're doing it. We're giving grace to people because of who we are. And our ability to recognize that there's this need in others to have someone recognize and give them a good comment or take care of them. There's that's what grace is, a recognition of the need in others for that kind of connection. And I would suggest that the giving of grace is not because of the pandemic. It's actually because we're good people, and because we care about our students and we care about others. And I'd ask that you all kind of try to hold on to that, because I think that's an important thing that should outlive the pandemic. And I say this as someone who for a long time bragged about how big the file of the file of plagiarism cases that we caught in my basic course at UNLV was, right? Used to hold it as a point of pride. I'm not saying I'm not glad that we did that, but it's a different feeling now. Much more of a, teachable moment, gives students opportunities. They're in college to make mistakes, right? We're here to help them work their way through them so they don't make the same mistakes later. They make brand new ones. And so the concept of grace, and give grace to yourselves. I think we often forget to do that. We're so busy extending it to other people that we don't give it to ourselves and how times get. And so, remember to do that. I think one thing that came through in all the stories is the importance of students to all of us. Students seem to be what sustain us professionally. Their successes were like top of mind for all of you. They're what sustain us professionally. And I mean that both for the Fountainhead folks as well as the faculty on here. Knowing that you're helping students seems to really hit home with all of you. Students also are what frustrate us professionally. So it's kind of this double-edged sword. But a few other notes that I kind of jotted down: be happy in the little things. One of the things I've learned in the last 8 months is perspective. And on a given tough day, there's always some little thing that goes right that I can hold on to. And I found myself a lot more lately thinking back to something I used to do, which is I would wake up in the morning and I'd make my task list for the day. Some of you may still do this. I stopped doing it a while ago, and then I started doing it a few months ago. I got to tell you, it's really rewarding to cross things off. And when you're stuck in this kind of atmosphere where either you're stuck at home or you're in the office and nobody's in the office, right? Having that, even if it's like literally start with like make your bed, I list even small things on there that I know I can cross off that I did, because then I feel a sense of accomplishment at the end of the day. And I feel like that sustains me to get through to the next day. The last two things I guess I'll bring up, three, sorry. One is I was reminded a couple of times when you all were reflecting, one of my favorite books is by Viktor Frankl, which is The Man's Search for Meaning. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it, but it's a phenomenal little book. And one of the central pieces that he says in there is that, those who have a why can bear any how. And if you know why you're doing something, you can deal with the problems of the how, right? If you keep the mission purpose front and center, you can bear any challenge that the context presents to you, you can handle. And I've been reminded of that almost daily for the last 8 months. Remember too, that those little wins I talked about, they outnumber the losses. Sometimes the magnitude of the losses doesn't make it feel that way. Dealing with, as Brad talked about, emails or conversations with students who lose loved ones, it's not easy. Never going to tell you that it is. But try to remember that the number of wins we have in a day always outnumbers the losses. And finally, is a thing that has come through in a couple of the sessions today, actually. It's this idea of systems. We work in a system, and oftentimes when things get bad, right, they get difficult, you kind of shut down and you myopically look at just what's in front of you. And the thing is, this pandemic has impacted not just, and I mean dramatically, not just how we handle our jobs on campus, but because when we pivot and change the way that we focus on our jobs, I'm struck by the Fountainhead folks, just talking about connecting with people, right? I'll be the first one to admit, I'm not the best at responding to emails to people who are talking to me about textbooks and resources and whatnots, right? Especially now. But I think as much as I think about the people who own the coffee shop on the corner of campus, that I want to make sure that I go in and buy a coffee a week to make sure that I'm supporting a local business, I want to make sure that I'm doing the same for people within the system of higher education. And I don't just mean on campus, I mean externally. And so I'm really struck by the interconnectedness that we all have, and the meaning that the job brings to the vast majority of us. So those are kind of like my big kind of notes, other than, making sure that we remember just from your conversations, there's so much to be proud of from your own work, this work of your students, navigating new delivery models, getting to do your speech contest. I got to know how you did that, Brad. Creativity, avoiding hurricanes, like all of this stuff. These are all successes that you all should make sure you hold on to in the middle of what can be a really, really slog of a fight that we have right now. But the light's coming at the end of the tunnel. So, at this moment, anybody else, I want to open it up and let people kind of talk about reactions to these sessions, kind of anything that you want to feel like sharing with everybody. I really want to kind of open the floor up now.
I've had a few people email me or chat privately asking about how we pulled off the speech competition, and I'm happy to have a conversation. So anybody, feel free to email me. I'll throw my email in the chat, and I'll loop in my basic course director for that kind of conversation, and we can talk about how we pulled it off, because it went really fairly well. So I was kind of happy.
One of the things that I'm anticipating and somewhat dreading is this idea of moving back to where we will be in the future, right? We've spent all this time and energy to figure out where we've been and how we can operate in this environment, and we know it's going to change again. And so I'd be really interested in hearing if anybody has given that some thought, and how because it's not I don't want to say go back, because we're never going to go back to that place that we were, but I wonder what kinds of consideration people have given to how these experiences will shape what we move toward next in the queue.
Yeah, Kelly, one of the things that I thought about that's going to look really different is just conferences. I wonder if that's something we're going to do. I look at that, and that looks like where we're at right now with the pandemic. That seems like the most dangerous thing you could do is to bring people from all corners of the country into one ballroom or restaurant or whatever it may be. So I'm curious what we're hearing from NCA and how that looks. And then I guess this group is a pretty involved group in the Basic Course Directors Conference too. So I might open that up if you guys, Sherry or Joe or anybody that's got any insight into how conferences will look and what they're thinking there.
Yeah, one of the things that a few of us have been sort of working in the background to think about is that Basic Course Directors Conference, and what does it look like going forward? Where have we been? Where do we want to be? And how do we get more people involved in that process? And so one of the things that we're going to do is sort of a mini conference, just to sort of take stock of that conference and come up with some maybe mission vision statements, or come up with a process for choosing hosts going forward, and just really reflecting on what is the culture of that conference and what do we want it to be and how does it look differently going forward. And so we will be sending out some invitations on the listserv as well as the Facebook group as to when that is. And if you want to have a voice in what the future of the Basic Course Directors Conference looks like, be looking for that invitation. Oh, also, part of what we're going to do in that conference is talk about what a virtual June conference would look like. And so, so that's just sort of going to be a planning conference or a taking stock conference. And then we will also talk about what a virtual conference in June, where it's, who will host, who will organize, And so that's another thing that we have coming down the pike.
I know that the online virtual conferences have been significantly more inclusive, but I've also found that they have been nowhere near as professionally rewarding to participate in. And so I hope that we will get to a point where we believe that the ballroom is safe and that we want to gather together again. Because I think we're going to find that the longer the virtual conferences go on, the quality of the scholarship is also going to go down. The quality of what we're publishing, the quality of what we can include in our textbooks and teach to our students will also go down.
Agree.
Michelle, I agree with you. And yet I've had a little bit of a different experience for 2 virtual conferences that I attended. Back in June, a group of us from SXU attended AAC&U's High Impact Practices Conference, and it's a working conference. It was done all through Zoom and it would have been nice, probably better to be together, but I was just amazed at how all of us for 4 days came together and did some really good work that I think will influence our campus. And then Course Hero out of San Francisco that did a virtual conference that was just spectacular, down to virtual happy hours. They got people to come in and show how to mix cocktails, and so we did all sorts of things. So I do hope that we get back to that, but I do hope that some of this stays around. So I didn't watch much of the NCAA conference this year for a variety of reasons. But it'll be nice if going forward, the main lectures like the Carol Arnold lecture or whatnot, if that's available. So people who cannot spend the money to go to a conference like that, because it's expensive. It's very expensive. Room rates are $200 a night. It just is. So I hope that we maintain some of that accessibility. And I know that I'm going to keep some of that going on and managing my department. Because like we've brought our adjuncts together on Zoom in a way, like we would bring our adjuncts together once a semester because, we pay them crap. We all know this. And to ask them to come to meetings on campus all the time is a lot. But I've found that they really will come together for a half-hour Zoom meeting once a month to catch up. And we're learning so much about each other, and that's not going away. We are going to keep on doing that going forward because it's allowed us to maintain. So I like that idea of accessibility, and I think that that's very helpful. But I'm with you, Michelle. I really do look forward to being able to gather in person and see folks and work together in person.
As someone who taught online before the pandemic, I'm really hoping too this helps us look at how we can deliver online education better, because we have a lot of students that this does work for. We actually have a lot of students that maybe can't come to campus or are taken care of. Our caregivers or their roles, they want to be students, but they can't come to the traditional come to campus format. And I know at our campus, we're starting to have conversations about not going backward, but moving forward. And I hope that we do that, because I think a lot of good can happen online. And also kind of that merging, taking what we do really well in face-to-face and what we've done really good online and kind of putting that together and just teaching in a different way. So I'm hopeful that we do that. And I'm sure the BCG and stuff will have conversations about how we can do that.
I hope those conversations will also talk about how we best prepare our students to enter our online classes and our hybrid classes of the future. I think that campus has spent an immense amount of time getting faculty ready to be in this environment and did a horrendous job of preparing the students to be in that environment. So I hope that we will get to a point where we find a balance, whether it's something that we have to create as communication instructors, or whether it's something we work with our OIT groups, with our information technology groups to create, whether it's something we work with our publishers to help create. But I think that we need a much better onboarding process for our students.
I'd agree. One of the unique things that I think as an industry discovered this year is that we're pretty good at coaching up the digital immigrants, but we made some assumptions about the digital natives that didn't quite actually pan out. Other reflections or comments? I know it's, for those of us in Eastern Standard Time, starting to get dark. Well, I want to thank all of you for being here this afternoon, for attending the sessions that you did. I truly hope you found some value in them. I know that I did. And it's nice to see that everybody at least seems to be doing all right and that we're surviving, and together we can hopefully pick a few ideas from each other and use the last week as a launching pad to even better navigate the spring. So again, thank you so much for the time that you've put into this, for the work that you've done for your students, for yourselves. Please take care of yourselves, take care of your families, wash your hands, especially after you blow your nose, that sort of stuff. And anyway, just thank you very much. It's really been rewarding to see everybody for the last 8 days come to this. And just thank you so much. And I wish you well and happy holidays to everyone.
Back at you, Joe. Thanks a lot. We miss you guys. Take care.